Oh my God. Look how beautifully her liver dances, dressed in those lovely clothes. Even I, his heart, suffer knowing that his love might die. I cannot help but admire how beautifully her liver dances. Look at it, inside her injured belly, wearing that cotton dress, soaked in her blood, dancing with such grace, such precision, like it doesn't care if she dies soon or not. Very well done, liver. Your dancing is incredible.
She's not going to die. Her heart, won't let her die. I swear that in front of everyone here. It will be one of those cases doctors call a medical miracle. We'd given up all hope. Her relatives will say, but she survived, and then they'll cry, hugging, all happy. And given that I am also in charge of the amount of love she feels for him and its intensity, I know that it wouldn't be right for me, her heart, to stop and take her life when I've gone to such pains to make her love him. Because I was the one who insisted that she love him. She didn't want to, she was almost disgusted by him, but I convinced her that she had to fall in love with him, because if she wouldn't fall in love with him, she'd regret it forever. She'd regret it her whole life. And she listened to me and loved him like nothing else in the world.
His head sunk in a pillow beside her, have been thinking the last few days that I love her like nothing else in the world. His head with his gray hair, his milk white cheeks, his closed eyes and his pretty little mouth, feel burdened with a great responsibility, since I'm the one who has somehow to think of something to tell her if she wakes up from a coma and asks me in terror whether she's going to die or not. That is something I have to do. His head with his gray hair, because it's not like his esophagus can think, his spinal column can't either, not even his foot can think. It only knows how to rest against her when they're sleeping, for as long as they are sleeping. So it's up to me to think of something, and quick.
Yes, you're the one that has to do that. His foot, I rest against her every time we sleep. Think of something to tell her if she asks us whether she is going to die or not. No, I can't do that. Shut away inside his brown leather shoe that's always tightly laced and dressed in his dark blue sock that's made of cotton. For 62 years now, I have come into contact with concrete, marble slabs, pebbles, wooden floors, and mud. But the thing that I remember most intensely of all is touching the sheet a little and her feet a little. Many times his foot, have ordered his hand with their trim nails and fingers tufted with white hairs to write her a note in the morning. Now, I don't know what it wrote her, and I don't know if her eyes were in good enough shape to read his handwriting clearly, but I think it wrote nice things, because every evening she would kiss me with her mouth and wash me with water and salt and lemons. Now, his foot, flexed and still, as he sits on the bed beside her, I look at the door to the room, I look at her hair, I look at the watch that's lying upside down on the bedside table, dial facing downwards, and as I wiggle my toes every few seconds, I think to myself that maybe I could help her somehow. If I could push inside her and pass through her lower intestine to reach her abdominal cavity, then maybe his foot, with my big toe, I could stop up the hole in her liver caused by that sharp object during the accident. And maybe that way I can save her, I thought.
Don't come any closer, that's far enough. It's so strange. You don't look like a foot. You have a body and a head. You have your own 2 feet. How strange that a foot has its own feet. Anyway, that's a very bad idea, you thought. To think that a foot's big toe can heal an injured liver is at best naive and stupid. And obviously quite ineffective. She's going to die tonight. There's no need for you to trouble yourself. It's pointless. My mind is made up. I am the one that's going to kill her. Because the time has come for her to pay for everything she's done to me all these years. She always treated me with contempt. And said the worst things about me to her friends whenever their conversations turned to health matters. She loved you, his foot, far more than she loved me, her liver, even though I am a part of her body, inside her body, and you are not. Even though she knew that without me inside her, she couldn't live and breathe. No one can survive without their liver. Even the lousiest, most useless doctor knows that. Everybody knows that. And yet, she loved you far more than she loved me. And now, the time has come for her to pay. As diligent as I was all these years working for her, she never appreciated it. Her tongue was always, look at his feet, how lovely and steady they are. Or look at his back, how many weights it can lift. Or look at his lungs, how big and clean they are. She hated me. I don't know why, but she hated me. Her tongue told me so too, in confidence. Said it had realized her resentment towards me because, as she described to me quite characteristically, each and every time she ate the liver of some animal for lunch or for dinner, she wouldn't even chew it. And she did it on purpose to get her revenge on me. And she would always ask for it rare, almost raw, to strike fear in me. And I knew that at some points it hurt me, and I know it was no accident that sharp object stabbed through me as she was falling off her moped. She fell quite deliberately on purpose, so that the sharp object didn't jab into her eye or into her buttock. No, it went through her liver. She did it to get her revenge on me. Whoever heard of anyone injuring their liver falling off a moped? Psh. So don't waste your time. Her heart is waiting for me to give the signal for it to stop beating. Go away. That's enough now. I never want to see you ever again. You or that stabby hand of his that wrote all those lies in those notes every morning.
I won't stop.
You'll do what I tell you to do, and when I tell you to do it. And just so that we put this whole matter to rest, she never appreciated you either. Let me just remind you of that day, around 6 years ago, when that same hand of his pinned down her hand and started pressing against her chest with his fingers, low down above her belly, really hard. And at first she tried to get away, but she didn't manage it, and her feet were slipping on the rug. And as time went on, he pressed harder and harder until his fingernails started to tear her soft skin. Because her skin had gone soft from the sweat, you remember? And blood started trickling down over her belly onto the rug. And first he put in 2 fingers. And then he shoved his whole hand right up to the wrist inside her and passing roughly through the bones. He grabbed hold of you and ripped you out from her chest. And she, instead of defending you, she just laughed and said she didn't care. And she, instead of defending you, she just laughed and said she didn't care. She just laughed and said she didn't. And he, with that stabby hand of his, threw you against the window pane. The heart is brown, not red like I thought, sneered his tongue. And again she didn't complain. She just laughed again because she found it funny that her very own heart had been tossed to the floor, its aorta covered in fluff. And then about an hour later, after he'd gone to bed drunk, she picked you up and put you back in your place, in, through and over her belly, after she'd rinsed you off a little in the sink. And you, after such disgraceful behavior, you're going to take her side? No. You'll do what I tell you to do. That's what hearts do. Hearts do whatever livers command them to do. And you're no exception. And I hope that she wakes up before I give you the order to stop, so that her end is even more awful, so that she realizes she's dying. Because if death comes now, that she's sleeping, it will be easy, and she doesn't deserve an easy death. I want for her and wish it from the bottom of my heart. I imagine you're aware that livers too have hearts. To wake up and realize the truth. Realize she only has a few minutes left to live. Realize she only has a few minutes left to live. She only has a few minutes left to live. She only has a few minutes left to live.
Well, in that case, given that it is certain my love is going to die, I will lie to her if she wakes up. I'll tell her something ridiculous, but she'll believe me. First, because she always believes me. And second, because everyone believes anything when they're about to die. They cling to any hope, however silly. This, then, is what I'll tell her. Yes, my love, you are going to die. But death is not what you think it is. Your death, I'll say, is not that you die. No, you go on living just like before. Each person's death is that everything else around them dies except for them. Your office, I'll say, will die. Your employees will die. Your shoes will be dead. Too, your trousers. Your dog, the sea and the sun, they will all die except for you. And because the sun dies, the dead see only darkness and get confused and think it's them that died. But no, that's not true. But now you know, I'll say, so there's no need to be sad. And she'll say, yes, darling, I know I won't be sad. But no more unpleasant thoughts. My love is still alive. Her heart still beats strong as ever in her chest.
I am truly sorry about the decision concerning her death. But I am very happy with what you thought up. It's really very convincing and reassuring. I could have never thought up something like that. I could have made him leave her side with broad strides in order to avoid the questions that she will ask, but that's about it. I knew that his foot, was something that she held precious. I knew very well that if she'd get along well with me, then she'd get along well with him. Her head knew that I was the one that made him love her. He didn't want her. He was almost disgusted with her. But I insisted on leading him to her every day. I walked him up to her office and stood there waiting for 10 or 15 hours without aching. He would rub me and say, "Well done for not aching while standing waiting all those hours." And I, with my veins wide open and my muscles alert, I stood there in silence and did the job I had to do. I only hit her once in the belly. I got jealous that day and that's why I acted out. She had touched another man's foot. No, I knew there was no reason to get jealous as it was her little brothers. 19 years old with two fairly fit, fat feet like mine, but I got jealous all the same. And in a matter of seconds, I had ordered his mouth to spit on her, his eyes to go red with rage, his stomach to tighten, and his hands to grab her by the hair and drag her to the floor, and that's when I kicked her. I remember as the sole of my foot pushed into the softness of her body. I remember thinking for the first time that maybe I don't know her all that well. I know her knees, yes, I know her shoulders, I thought, I know her cheeks, I know the nape of her neck, but I don't know all the things she hides inside her, like her spleen, for example, or her kidneys. And I think you cannot truly know a person if you haven't seen what they hide inside them. You cannot truly know a person if you haven't touched their stomach, or their liver, or their kidneys, even a little.
Das stimmt. Ich, Ihre Niere, kann das bestätigen. Ich kenne Sie nicht so gut. Ich kenne Sie erst seit 4 Jahren. Vor der Transplantation war ich in einem 19-jährigen deutschen Mädchen, das in einem Krankenhaus wie diesen in München seinen letzten Atemzug tat. Dieses Mädchen, einziges Kind einer wohlhabenden Familie, beschuldigte ihr Dienstmädchen des Diebstahls, als Messer und Löffel des vergoldeten Bestecksets der Familie verschwanden. Als das Dienstmädchen mehrfach mit einer schweren Suppenschüssel auf den Kopf des Mädchens einschlug, erlitt das arme Ding lebensbedrohliche Schädel-Hirnverletzungen, und als es ins Krankenhaus eingeliefert wurde und starb, beschlossen ihre Eltern, einige ihrer Organe zu spenden. Der Chirurg, der sie aufschnitt, fand überraschenderweise 8 vergoldete Buttermesser, 14 vergoldete Teelöffel und ebenso viele Suppenlöffel in ihrem Magen. Ich war unverletzt und landete also hier. Das andere Mädchen wurde irgendeinem Mann gegeben. Genaueres weiß ich ehrlich gesagt nicht, aber es ist wahr. Man kennt eine Person wirklich nicht, bis man gesehen hat, was in seinem Innern vorgeht.
His head don't speak any Germans, so I don't understand her kidney when it talks, but since it's now hers and doesn't belong to that spoiled German girl, I feel great affection for it because it's now part of my beloved. His head, his cheeks wet with tears, and his gray hair ruffled by fitful rubs of his hands, turned up to face the ceiling. I'm having certain thoughts. I'm trying to set things straight when it comes to everything I think about that relates to her, like that time when her hands rubbed me hard on the street, or that other time when she used her hands again to trim the hairs in my ears perfectly. And I'm also thinking how very much I look like his father. His father, who was a doctor by trade, has made it his life's work to find a scientific way for his son to be born with exactly the same head like his, exactly the same eyes, the same ears, the same nose, the same teeth. After studies lasting many years and a fair few failures, he finally managed it. One night, during the second 24 hours of his wife's fertile period, he sat beside her, and once, erect, he ejaculated into the palm of his hand, then licked all the semen with the tongue in his head, and then he spread his wife's legs. He slipped his whole head up inside her womb and spat out his sperm heart. This method, fertilization by head, proved successful. And 9 months later, his son was born with exactly the same head, the same teeth, the same nose, the same eyes, like his. I am that head. And here I stand, opposite her, remembering his father. His father is no longer alive, but his mother doesn't know that. They didn't tell her that he died from drowning while trying the same artificial insemination method with a younger colleague of his inside the pool of a hotel where he was attending a medical conference organized by some major pharmaceutical company, and that his foot, that one over there, takes him every morning to his mother, and he is waving at her from the opposite pavement, and his head, am smiling, and she thinks that smiling head is her husband's. So his head that looks exactly like his father's, I know that I'm going down soon and eat at the hospital canteen. I'm already starting feeling very hungry and sleepy too. And I know that if my life dies, there will be no other head like hers anywhere in the world, like his and his father's are alike. So they will be able to trick me like they trick his mother. His head know that I will never see her head again, and that's something really sad.
That story is truly very moving. It really is tragic that you'll never see her head again. It really is tragic that you're going to lose her, and I feel bad for you. I do. I wouldn't want to be his head in that moment, not at all. You're in a very difficult position. You've moved me so much, but I think I might talk to her head, convince it to wake up, to lift her brain out of its coma and get better, so that you can be together forever. Listen, how about this? Sleep here alongside her for a while. His foot, with his trimmed toenails and soft sole, can rest against hers again. You've really tired yourself out these last few days. So sleep a little for 2 or 3 hours, and I promise that she'll still be alive when you wake up. Alive and awake and well. You need to be rested because you'll have a lot to tell her. You'll have to fill her head in on a lot, and her head is sure to want to kiss you, or his foot, or even the both of you. So sleep a little. I'll need a little time for all this. It's no simple matter. I'm sure you understand.
I do understand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You cannot imagine how happy you've made us.
Thank you so much.
When she wakes up, remind her maybe of how you met. She loved that. That first time you saw her when her hand knocked on your door, asking for a little food to eat and a sofa to sleep on, as she had nowhere else to go. My heart started beating fast the moment I saw her. I'm sure you're all aware that each heart has its own heart. She had secretly left home the night before, ordering her feet to step lightly across the parquet floors of her parents' house, so as not to wake her kind-hearted father, who was sleeping deeply after he drank 3 glasses of Calvados and ejaculated all over the trunk of the lemon tree in the garden. He then picked a lemon, squeezed it onto his palms to get them clean. Her father, a man with a very hairy body, tubby and kind-hearted, will take her in his arms each night to sleep, ever since his wife died.
Her father would take her in his arms each night to sleep, ever since his wife died. That night, before she left, she accidentally set him on fire and burned him alive. As she was holding him tight in her arms and he was sleeping, her hand picked up a lighter, lit a cigarette, and brought it close to her mouth. The cigarette ember fell onto the mattress and the flammable material immediately caught alight. Her feet stepped down onto the parquet floor and patted her lightly away towards the garden. Her head turned a little to see her kind-hearted father's body covered in hair that only helped the fire burn brighter. She went out into the garden, wiped the semen from the trunk of the lemon tree, picked a lemon, squeezed it, washed her hands, and left for good.
Wenn sie stirbt, weiß ich nicht, in wessen Körper ich landen werde. Ich hoffe nur, dass es der Körper einer Person ist, die nett und gesund ist. Ich bin es leid, den Körper zu wechseln. Wo auch immer ich landen werde, möchte ich auch den Rest meines Lebens verbringen. Ich habe diese Frau nie richtig kennengelernt. Ich habe nie verstanden, was ihr Kopf dachte oder wie ihr Vater ermordet wurde. Ich war ja nicht dabei. Ich konnte es nicht wissen. Was ich weiß, ist, dass ihre Leber lügt. Alle Lebern lügen. Sobald ihr alle einschlaft, wird sie dem Herzen befehlen, zu schlagen aufzuhören. Und das ist schade, weil so wenig ich sie kannte, ist es doch tragisch, dass sie den Mann, den sie wie keinen anderen liebte, für immer verlieren wird.
On behalf of his entire body, I just like to thank you, Lever. His head would like to cry tears of joy now that my love is not going to die. If she did die, then I'd cry, but tears of sorrow. If his other body parts could, they would also cry tears of joy. But intestines don't cry. Diaphragms don't cry. Shins don't cry. Tailbones don't cry. Only people's heads cry. So that's my job, and I'm going to do it right. I have to think clearly now. I have to think logically. Not to think strangely, like her head used to think, like her head was thinking when her hands knocked on his door and asked for a little food and a little sleep. So, thank you very much, Lever.
There is no need to thank me. You've done so much for her over the years that it wouldn't be right for me to kill her. Remember the state this woman was in when she knocked on your door and asked for a little food and a little sleep? Her head wasn't able to think clearly. Her head was thinking strange thoughts. She was saying that the sea swims in the swimmer, that the tree was hanged from the bandit, that hair tassels the wind, that roads walk on people, that soil sprouts from flowers, that chicks stroke hens, that snow is covered by mountains, that children give birth to their parents, that architects are designed by houses, that soil sprouts from flowers, that tears drip eyes, that blood has a heart, though I'm not entirely sure she was wrong about that last one. Anyway, that's what she was saying. And he gave her some food and put her on the sofa to sleep. And ever so slowly her head started to think straight again like the heads of everyone else. And her heart loved him like no other man in the world. So yes, now that I think of it, it would be a shame to lose one another because of me. So sleep easy.
Let's sleep easy. Let's only his bladder stay awake. Let's have a rest now that her liver has my heart bursting with joy. I'm sure you all imagine that each heart has a little heart of its own.
No we won't be sleeping. I don't think that his head, will be able to sleep. Not now that his head, have started having strange thoughts, like she used to have. Since I too now say that her mouth comes out of her breath, her belly is inside her child, say that nails have her fingers painted, his head, am tired, I'm having strange thoughts. I say that fish killed the spergans, her heart is keeping her alive. No, she's keeping her heart alive. I don't know, I also say that snow gets covered, blood has a heart. Say that I don't know, I think I want her heart to stop. I think I want her to die. I think I want her heart to stop because she loved me like nothing else in the world. Say that chocolates have children in their mouths. Say you need soup to eat some spoon. I say the head rules emotion, the heart rules logic, emotion kills logic, therefore the head kills the heart. That's how I am thinking, and that's how it must be, probably. And how it is, then I have to kill this heart of hers and then cry. That's my job, because heads cry when people cry, when people that love like nothing else in the world die, or rather people who love like nothing else in the world cry when people die. I don't know.